Hey, my name is Yolanda, and welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. Tune in each week as I speak frankly about life experiences from my perspective and offer you a bit of unsolicited advice. Let's take a little time to laugh, to think, and to cry as we tackle some serious topics and some not so serious topics. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Hey, welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. My name is Yolanda. Thank you for tuning into my show for today and joining me for another episode. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I hope all hearts and minds are clear. I'm doing just fine. No complaints at all. Just doing just fine. I had a little funny moment with my son today. If you all have teenage children who have their own jobs or that they're driving, to hear him complain about gas prices, and this is probably his second time. And I don't know if I told you all about the first, but it is just hilarious. So I sent him some money because he's not working at the moment. He normally just has a little summer job. So I guess he felt like the amount of money I sent him, like, yeah, I'm going to have this change left over. But I remember the last time I sent him gas money, it was like $40 something for his gas, and I sent him 50. So this time I just knew gas prices had gone up. So I sent 60 for him to be able to get gas in his car or whatever. And he's just like, Ma, last time I filled my tank up, it wasn't this much money and blah, blah, blah. And so it's just funny to have an adult conversation with your teenage child about gas prices and the economy and voting and why it matters and the president and why the gas prices are what they are. So it's important to give your kids responsibilities because they will see things from your point of view. If you don't allow them to experience these things, then not saying they won't get it, but their growth will definitely be stifled. And I have two children to compare that to. Some of you have more than me, and maybe you do have two as well. But I've already raised a child, and so my daughter is an adult now. And just thinking back on the things that she didn't do or didn't have access to that my son now has access to, I can definitely see the growth in him as a 16-year-old and where she was maturity-wise at 16. So it's definitely a difference because she didn't have her driver's license at 16. She also didn't have a job at 16, and she didn't have her own car at 16. So just kind of watching him, they pretty much had the same level of responsibilities and also extracurricular activities. She ran track and played basketball, where my son is in a school organization that keeps him pretty busy, and he's in band. So activity wise, they did a lot. And same with my daughter. I didn't care. She got a job because she was really busy and her schedule was pretty tight. And me trying to figure out how to get her to work and school and get her home from these extracurricular things and after school practices was a lot for a single mom. I don't have that same struggle now that I'm married and my husband and I are raising our son together, of course. So we share the load. It's much better, but we are both still working adults as well. So it definitely helps with that freedom. So anyway, I thought that was super cute and thought I would share, but let's get straight into street talk.
Yeah, what's going on? Let me know.
So yeah, I have been following this Dr. Cheyenne Bryant situation, and I don't know where it originally came up from. I just remember running across it, and pretty much people have been questioning her degrees and her credentials and whether or not she has the capacity to treat patients and call herself a therapist. So do you know Dr. Cheyenne Bryant? If you don't, she did a viral interview with Cam Newton before. She has been seen on Tonight's Conversation. She's done a couple cameos there. She was on The Breakfast Club today, if you guys listen to The Breakfast Club. So there's a couple. Was it today? I tell a lie because that boy was on there today talking about Offset, Lil J or Tay or somebody, Little T something. So it might have been yesterday or the day before, but it was this week. We'll say this week. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant was on there. So listen to that if you're unfamiliar of who she is. But I've talked about this, and if you weren't aware, this month, May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I always promote mental health because I feel like it's important. And I do know that people who normally gravitate to podcasts and different things are highly intelligent individuals. You guys like to hear opinions, facts, or information on different things. And you're a lifelong learner. You like to learn things and just open your mind to different concepts. And you gravitate to different podcasts and different shows and different things for different reasons. But I say all that to say, in this social media realm, I think that people tend to want to just get opinions that are readily available and say, yeah, because so-and-so said it. You heard what they said. That's how I feel. So I am justified in the way that I behave, in the way that I act, in the way that I speak or do things because this person said this on this podcast or this person said that. And even though I'm a person that says this and says that on the podcast, if you are genuinely suffering from depression, if you are questioning whether or not you may have some sort of mental illness like bipolar or anything like that, schizophrenia, or if that runs in your family and you're afraid that you're suffering from something that may not just be in your head, then you definitely need a licensed therapist, okay? Psychiatrist. You need someone who has studied, who has a degree, who has passed exams, who has done clinical hours. You do need that. But if you are just like, I'm struggling, I don't have my life together, I need to figure out how to balance my life, how to set goals and put myself in a position to level up, then you can deal with a life coach or you can talk to someone who is not licensed. If you are married, I don't suggest you having a conversation with somebody who says, I talk to couples. I think you should get a licensed marriage and family therapist because, again, if you have to get a divorce and these things come up to court and you say, I've gone to therapy and somehow, some way, shape, fashion, or form, this court subpoenas the clinician's therapy notes or clinical notes is what they call them. The life coach ain't taking on those. They might as like, okay, remind me of who this couple is and what they're about, but they're not going to have the notes that they're supposed to have that would stand up in court. And I know we take that stuff for granted and we think that those kind of things will never happen, but they actually do. So I understand why people are questioning her credentials. Now, she says that she did not choose to get licensed because she did not want to go that route, and she creates her own lane, and she's created a lane for herself that's sustainable, and she doesn't do what everybody else does. She is getting an honorary degree, and people were talking about that. People have a problem with honorary degrees, and I don't, because I always say if I'll get a doctorate, it's going to be honorary. Honorary degrees is like an award, pretty much. It's the community or that school organization awarding you, typically for like philanthropy or some lifelong body of work that you've done, whether or not it's some charity organization or foundation that you started and it's been helping the community and you've made great strides in this area or that area. So and normally they do that for people who are giving the commencement speech, but not always. Sometimes at graduations, if you've ever been, it's several people getting honorary degrees, and including the person who's doing the commencement speech. So it's not any like slight to be like, oh, they got an honorary degree, that's nothing. No, it means that they've done something that's worth honoring. And instead of giving you a glass plaque or a metal one to go on your wall or this trophy to hang, they say, we're going to honor you with this degree. Now, I wouldn't call myself doctor because I have this honorary degree. If you choose to call me that, it is what it is, but I'm not signing that on any paper or telling anybody that. But she says that her doctorate is real. And yes, she has several honorary doctorates, but her doctorate that she received in the beginning was legitimate. And she named all of the degrees that she obtained, her bachelor's, her master's, and what her PhD was in. Now, people are saying, don't get me to lie about the name of the school. It starts with Avery, Ajari, something, I don't know, university. She says that that's where she got her PhD from. Apparently that university has now closed. And so there are people online saying, oh, I attended that university. It's not hard to get your transcript because word on the block is you can't find her dissertation. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you're getting a PhD or some sort of doctorate, usually, not always, they require a dissertation. A dissertation is, I like to call it a book. It's a small book. It's you researching a topic or a subject and presenting on it. So if you said that you want to see what the correlation is between families who only have one parent in the household and how that affects the student's overall development in high school, then your dissertation would be on that. Your dissertation could be on special education in the public schools, and you would write something based on your thesis or your whatever, right? And so it involves research and it involves you writing, and typically that dissertation is published. So people can find your dissertation just by Googling your name and what comes up. So they're saying that they can't find her dissertation and that she has not provided, I guess, her transcript. And she claims that because the school has closed, she wasn't able to do it. And people are calling cap on that. Now, do people lie about having degrees? All the time, because nobody is saying, let me see, right? That's just not happening. If you say you call yourself Dr. Smith, I mean, I've watched plenty scam episodes on TV about this. Now, I wouldn't lie about a degree, but people do. I don't see a problem with you saying you're a life coach, but I understand that she probably wouldn't have been able to make it as far, especially like hosting TV shows. I think she was a featured therapist on some sort of reality show, like a dating game show. And I can't remember which one it was, but I think that's how we kind of learned about her. And I doubt if that would have happened had she not been called doctor. So those people took her word like she's credible. But don't diagnose people if you don't have a license. I think that that's very irresponsible, and not saying that she may not have had the training to do so, but you can't take that paperwork to another doctor who's licensed or a therapist and say, okay, I got diagnosed with being a narcissist. I got diagnosed with being bipolar, and these people don't have any credentials. I mean, it's not going to hold up. At the end of the day, the topic at hand, even though I led into this with a street talk, it is that if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to take your mental health seriously, you got to make sure that you're speaking with someone that has your best interest at heart, but also is honest about what their level of expertise is. I'd hate to go to someone who specializes in gut health, and then you're trying to tell me about my skin, right? Yes, you are a doctor, but there are specialty degrees for a reason. And normally that requires extra time in school for you to specialize in that area. And that's the reason why people are pediatricians, and pediatricians don't treat adults. Not that they can't, because they have some level of expertise, but at the end of the day, that's not their specialization. You wouldn't get your dentist to prescribe you medicine for heart issues. You pick up what I'm putting down. They may be able to give you CPR, and they may be able to help stop some bleeding if you were having some issues and into a crisis. However, that is not those people areas. So I feel like your area of expertise matters. She says hers is in family and marriage therapy. Might be, right? But she doesn't have it, and she claimed her credentials, and she claims that. Now, let me just say this, and this is again my street talk, but this is the topic. Because this is Mental Health Awareness Month, I need you all. I have a best friend of mine who is a licensed therapist. And I've had licensed therapists on the show. Damian Harmon is a licensed therapist, and so is Nikisha Randolph. And I also had Dr. Alan Pope, who is a psychologist. So I've had these people on my show who has been licensed. And I tell you, with these conversations I had with them, it is very insulting to the people who took the extra step, paid the extra money, did the extra time and supervision to be licensed. And for you to just say, well, yeah, I see clients, and yeah, like a lot of the people in tonight's conversation, I don't know if Kitty, I think that's her name, Rose, has a certification, but I know she speaks about having clients, and I think that she's definitely a coach, but I don't think that she's licensed. And yes, she has degrees, but I have a degree in psychology. I would never tell you all that I am a psychologist or that I can counsel anybody. I am a school counselor, and I really could deceive the public and say I have a degree in counseling. I mean, it is a degree in counseling, but it's counselor education. So I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I went to grad school, and I have a master's plus 30, meaning 30 additional hours in counselor education. So it's an education degree, and it's in counseling. However, that degree was specifically for people to become school counselors. Now, do we learn about counseling in general? Yes. To be honest, I feel like that degree was for you to counsel people. It had nothing to do with what I do for my job. I actually do more paperwork than anything, and I do more academic advising and just like college and career readiness than I do counseling. But as far as what the degree prepared me for, straight up counseling. I mean, all we did was learn how to counsel students and what was appropriate morally, whatever. We had to do practicum hours, and we also had to do internship hours. So I understand that. And you had to take an exam. We had to take the praxis to make sure that we passed in order to be certified. So I am a certified professional for school counseling, right? Now, I have never been subpoenaed for my documents. However, I've had colleagues and friends and people in the field that have been subpoenaed to go to court based on the counseling of a child. When children are involved in these cases, we've had molestation cases and just all these different things. And if abuse cases, but if that student comes to you and you've been counseling them and they've been sharing things with you about what has happened in their life and what has taken place, you're supposed to be taking clinical notes, and those notes could be subpoenaed. Now, what I've been doing lately, because and a lot of schools do this since we are overwhelmed with other responsibilities in a high school, is that we refer students who need long-term counseling to an actual therapist, a mental health therapist. And we usually have school-based therapists in our building. And we also have outside agencies that we can refer to for a kid to get services ongoing. So now if you're just struggling with school in general and trying to balance your life, like again, life coachy type stuff, then I will counsel a student on that, because I know that this wouldn't be something that you need continuous services for. But if you are dealing with, again, grief, some sort of depression, or you have suffered from abuse and you have some sort of form of anxiety or PTSD, I'm going to refer you, because I know that I won't have the time to be able to give that student the care that they need. That now, that's not all school counselors. There are some that in their school have the capacity to do that, and just that. That's just not where I am in the school and the district that I work for. So that's a long story to say you can be subpoenaed for your notes. So it is important that based on why you're getting the counseling and what you're getting the counseling for, you really need to know who you're getting. And I'm going to be honest, life coaches charge way more than therapists. And if you don't know that, and if you're paying somebody who's charging you $120, $200 for sessions, you can go to a therapist for $50 each session. You understand what I'm saying? It does not, you're paying them for what? They're not even certified. I'd rather pay somebody that if they give me a bad diagnosis, I can sue. Okay. I hate to say it that way, but yeah, you not suing no life coach. That's just not going to happen. You get what I'm saying? It's just not going to happen. And all of these people with these consulting and life coaching seminars and you can go, and it's good information. And like I said, if you're not dealing with anything major and something that keeps you in deep depression then by all means do that. No big deal. But if you are truly suffering from a mental illness, you really need to go see a professional. And I'm not just saying that to just be, super dramatic. I'm being serious. You really do need to see someone, because you don't want someone to misdiagnose you, and you don't want someone to say that you have something wrong with your mind that you don't. You don't want someone to label you as something, because all of the words that the social media life coaches have thrown out, narcissist, toxic, just all these different terms that, they've gotten from a therapist, but they're not, again, certified to be able to label you any of those things. And so I hate some of those words, although they're so overused that we still use them to describe things that we're trying to get out, because we know people will relate and understand them. We don't have the credentials to do that. We don't have the understanding to do that. I can't do that even if I were to counsel a student, because then I really if I'm if I'm seeing a student for depression, they tell me, Ms. Gore, I'm just sad. I'm going to make an assessment, right? I'm going to ask them questions, and I'm going to assess them to determine whether or not this is severe depression, or if I feel like it's something that they can be coached through, right? If I feel like this is severe depression and it's something that they need to be medically treated for, or have some sort of treatment plan from a therapist, I'm going to refer to an outside agency all the time, because at the end of the day, I know that's outside of my scope of practice. And you got to be honest enough and not just take the money when you know some shit is outside of your scope of practice. If you just want to get couples counseling and you just say, okay, we're dealing with how to understand each other, how to communicate better, I don't have a problem with you going to a life coach that says they specialize in counseling couples, fine. People go to their pastor all the time for couples counseling before they get married. That is fine. But do understand that that counselor shouldn't be telling you that your husband is a narcissist and he suffers from this, and because of his past, he's dealing with this type of anxiety and he has PTSD from this and that. No, them people can't tell you that. All they can do is give you advice. It really is just that. And half of the time it's not advice. It's information to help guide you to the next level, because people shouldn't be telling you what you should do. In therapy, they're helping you to come up with your own solutions on how to make your life better, right? Unless, again, you have a serious mental issue that requires some sort of medication. So they give you homework assignments and tips and tools on how to move yourself forward. So I went to I did a professional development conference, and at the conference, this guy who was a therapist was talking about a client that he had that was suffering from depression. And he said that he doesn't get out much. He doesn't have a lot to do, and he's stuck in his house, and he is just sinking in deeper depression. In order to treat this, his treatment plan was he gave his client an assignment. And the assignment he gave him was, every day I want you to go outside and to wash your car. I know that your car may not be dirty, but every day I want you to go wash your car. Now, you would think like every day I got to wash my car, but that's what the therapist asked him to do. I want you to wash your car. Because he said he enjoyed cars, and, that was one of his passions, like cars. He was like, wash your car every day, just go. So as he starts to wash his car every day, when he's coming back to these sessions, he's telling his therapist, like, hey, my neighbor saw me washing my car and was just like, oh, I noticed that you wash your car daily and you do such a good job. Do you mind washing my car? I'll pay you for it. You wash my car. And so people in his neighborhood start asking him to wash their car. And then he was approached by a church that said, hey, we have some older people that are not capable, that can't do. We would love to put together an event and have you help spearhead that to get the church out and get a car wash service going on, blah, blah, blah. But what had happened was he had started to make friends. He had started to get involved in the community, and he told his therapist that he couldn't come anymore because he was too busy. He had too much going on, and that he wasn't going to be in need of the services anymore because he just didn't have the time. And if he needed him, he would call him. Well, do you see what the therapist did there? At the end of the day, he didn't tell him that nothing was wrong with him. He didn't give him this list of things like, let me talk about your past. Let me see what you're dealing with. He literally gave that man an assignment and coached him out of his depression, and low key tricked him out of his depression. He didn't even know what the therapist was doing, but he did what the therapist had asked him to do. So a lot of times in therapy, you get homework assignments. I remember when my husband and I did couples therapy, we got assignments, which was sometimes answering these questions that was given to us. It was working on things with our communication, and we had to start sentences off with certain things. And I will say that from our therapy session, I've done my own individual, but just with the couple therapy, I will say that my husband and I don't have arguments anymore, like blowout, major, cuss each other out type of arguments. And even when it gets heated, we're able to bring ourselves back. I'm not saying it don't get heated. I'm just saying it's never like, fuck you. You get what I'm saying? We're able to talk ourselves through it because of therapy, because we got tools to use. But also therapy helped us understand each other's emotions and speak each other's argument language. Like I understood what his primary emotions are or secondary emotions are whenever he's communicating things with me. So because I learned that, I understand now when he says things, what it means, not just the surface, like, okay, he cussing at me, but he's cussing. That is his secondary emotion. That's not how he feels primarily. So let me understand what he feels primarily. And then now I know how to address him. So then now my approach isn't to yell and cuss because I understood what he was trying to convey. And I'm not necessarily taking what he said and how he said it as face value. So therapy really does help if you have somebody that knows what they're doing. And again, it's not them telling you what you need to do. Oh, you need to stop talking to him. Oh, you need to cut your family off. You don't need to have ties with them. That's not what it is. Now, they help you come up with your own conclusion. So I'm not saying they're not going to ask you some questions that make you feel like, why am I talking to him? You know what? That makes sense. I'm not getting anything out of this. This doesn't make any sense. You get what I'm saying? So I'm going to encourage you, because frankly, the fact of the matter is, just like you would service a headache, a gut ache, heart pains, chest pains, whatever, you got to service your mind. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. I suggest you all find you a therapist. If you've never done therapy in your life, now is your time to try it, to do it, to make it make sense for you. If you're at a place of stuck in your life, and that stuck can be anything. You're stuck at your job. You're stuck in a career. You're stuck in not having a career. You're stuck with your relationship with your parents. You're stuck with not being in a relationship. You're stuck with how to deal with your children. Anything. You're stuck in a marriage where you just don't seem like it's going well, and you can't seem to get over this hump with your husband or wife. Now is the time for you to say, let me talk to somebody and see. Now, this is another thing I'll tell you that people don't say about therapy. Stop thinking that, okay, but what if I ain't feeling it and I don't feel like, okay, next. Just like you get second opinions with doctors, you be like, this one ain't fit. Because I did that. I'm like, okay, I don't know about this one. You know what I'm saying? So I go on to another one. It's no big deal. It's really no big deal at all. And I get that you got to be comfortable with somebody, but they got so many different ways to do therapy now. I did all of my sessions online. I have not sat down in front of a therapist ever. Most of mine, well, to be fair, I started like COVID time is when I originally started my first therapy sessions for myself. And so they were virtual. And my husband and I did ours virtual. And then I had another therapist after that outside of the first time. And that was virtual as well. But they work just the same. I don't physically need to be there to pick up your vibe. We can have, your camera's on, you're looking at each other. And it worked just well. But I lied. My husband and I tried therapy prior to the virtual. And that was in person. We did do in person. But he didn't like the therapist. And we ended up having to get another one. So again, you can always switch because he didn't like, and I was down and cool with it. If that's not your cup of tea, you don't feel comfortable, it's not going to work. So you definitely have to feel comfortable. You got to find somebody that understands you, and you, I think it's psychology.com. I want to say that's what it's called. But there's a website that has a list of all of the therapists that are licensed and what type of insurance they take, if they take insurance. And you can find the therapist that fits you. So you can say, I'm looking for a Christian therapist. I'm looking for a therapist for the LGBTQ plus, because I don't remember the other letters, community. I'm looking for a Black therapist, a woman, a young, whatever your preference is. I swear to God, they have filters for that. And you can put it in for your area, for virtual, all of that stuff. So it's no excuse. You can really find somebody to fit, and it's not expensive. I think people think that it's expensive. Like I said, you can pay $50 for a session, or you can pay $150. I don't think I've ever paid more than $150 for a session. And that was couples, which, it's two people, but also therapy isn't long term. Most of my sessions ended when they felt like you were, your treatments you've concluded your treatments. Like I don't need to, there's some people that need continual therapy for things, but if they feel like they've accomplished what your goals were at the beginning when they did their assessment, then that's it. They'll release you and they'll tell you, if you need me again, of course, call and we'll revisit some things if you're struggling again with it. But for the most part, you're not going to be there for years on end. You get what I'm saying? So I hope that doesn't scare you, but do understand that they'll warm you up. It's not like day one, you're in there like, so when I was 5, my mom said this to me and that triggered me. No, they're going to do an assessment. Sometimes it's a questionnaire that they'll send you and you fill out the questions and then you turn it back into them so that they're prepared. Sometimes your first session is them asking the questions, but it's really just to get to know you. The first session is always that. It's not going to be any really hard questions. They're going to ask you why you're seeking therapy, what brought you there pretty much. And again, try to get to know you and figure out what your goal is for therapy. So that's my mental health little, and I think that this month I'll probably, before it ends, try to bring on someone for them to talk about some options or maybe some things that you all want to hear about. So again, if you want me to bring a therapist on for a specific area or someone who specializes in something particular, let me know. I have a couple of homies, you know what I'm saying? My number is country code 1, area code 803-997-0846. You can leave me a voice memo or you can text me if you want us to, or me to, find a specific topic of mental health that you want to be covered. You can also DM me on my social media platforms and let me know what you want a therapist to be brought on to discuss, right? Or if you just want some therapy one-on-one, just like general information. I've done that in the past. I'll be glad to do it again. You guys let me know. Again, we're going to represent and support Mental Health Awareness Month. And so that is my ask of you guys to just let me know so I can provide support and information for people who just may not be able to get the information. So, but to wrap up the Cheyenne Bryant thing, I think that she's very knowledgeable from what I've seen of her and the things that I hear her speak of. You can tell that she has received some education in the field, in the area. So I can tell that she's knowledgeable. And if her clients accept her, then that's fine. I think what people have a problem with is the lie, right? And then, yes, people be like, oh, well, she had her degrees up there. You do realize degrees are just certificates and people can duplicate them. But what really solidifies your degrees or diploma in high school even is your actual transcript. The transcript confirms that you've taken the courses to earn the degree, because at the end of the day, people been scamming with them diplomas. So honestly, in high school, those diplomas are made by a company who makes varsity jackets. And it's just a piece of paper and they print them out for you. But the state verifies your transcripts, and those are what the official documents are. Same thing for college. When you're registering for college, they want an official copy of your high school transcript. When you're going to a major degree program that's a graduate level, they're going to request the transcript of your undergraduate institution. And so at the end of the day, the transcript is what's official. So for her to say she can't find it is a bit like, a little sketchy. But at the end of the day, I don't judge. I just think you guys should educate yourself to find out exactly what it is that you're looking for with therapy and find the right person that best suits your needs, whether that's a licensed or an unlicensed person. So until next time, y'all, I'll holla. Bye.